Radio Raheem here with Carl Froch at the pub quiz for Sky Sports. We're the last interview to do, and the whole competition's been done, so I'm going to run you through some of the upcoming fights and how your thoughts are on those fights. But most importantly, we had a pub quiz today in which there was a competition for best commentary of the 11th round between Joshua and Klitschko. I'd like to know who you felt like the winner was.
Who won that?
Technically, Ricky Hatton won it. But I came in as runner-up, and I felt like the cards were askew. I felt like it was wrong. It was a wrong decision. I just want to know officially where Carl Froch comes down on who won that fight.
Yeah. It was the comedy value, wasn't it? Ricky Hatton. But you did all right. You did good.
You still got Hatton.
Yeah. People like to be entertained. You was good, but you was taking it too serious. You did a good job. Like, you did a proper job. He did a comical job. So he won the comedian's vote.
Have you ever heard anyone drop that many F-bombs on a broadcast nationally?
Yeah, no, it was very explicit, and you did do a good job, but unfortunately, come on, don't just be magnanimous in defeat.
I would be terrible at the end of the fights. I'd be like trying to continue the fight in the 13th round. Fair enough, but I would just like for the audience to take that into consideration as we break down the other fights, that you're relatively wrong about this one. So Radio Raheem should have won that fight, but when it comes to Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, which we should see by the end of the year, who do you have?
You reckon we're going to see it by the end of the year? Well, I hope we do. I don't think we will. I think Joshua will fight one more, then he'll fight Deontay Wilder, and he won't get that in this year. But when it eventually happens, you know, Anthony Joshua's my man. I've got a lot of confidence in him. I think he beats everyone at a minute in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder's his biggest test and his most dangerous test, and a fight he could lose. If he gets hit on the chin by Deontay Wilder will go for the finish. You know, he won't let him off the hook like Klitschko did. He'll go for the finish, and if he does hurt Joshua, when he goes for the finish, if Joshua don't get hold of him or don't get safe or get out of there, depending on how far into the round it is, he could be in serious trouble, because the Bronze Bomber really does fight with mean intentions. He always has done. I've always liked his style. I like his aggression and his unorthodox approach to boxing. He does a lot of things wrong, but he's improving all the time. And I think it's a hell of a test for Joshua. But obviously, I've got my man. I think AJ beats him. I think he'll just take the centre of the ring, and I think he'll just use his size and his strength and meet Deontay Wilder as he comes. Wilder's not a big man. I've stood with him. He's tall, he's rangy, he can punch hard, but he's not naturally physically a big man. Don't get me wrong, he's big, but he's not a big, heavy, solid unit. He's got quite skinny legs, and I just think if Joshua takes his time with him consistently over 12 rounds, I've got him winning. But I'm not talking by much. This is literally marginal. And don't forget, by my own admission, this is a biased opinion. Joshua's my friend. My coach, Ron McCracken, trains him. So I'm not saying that's the only reason I'm picking him, but that's a big influence. You know, Josh is my man. I want him to win this fight. But Deontay Wilder, I'll tell you what, it's got to be getting Joshua sweating. He really has.
Did the Wilder-Ortiz fight change your opinion about Wilder at all? I mean, after the 7th round, he was able to recover and come back and then finally get the knockout. Did it change your opinion of Wilder?
It did. It made him an even more dangerous fighter, because the way he was able to recover from that period of distress, and he was definitely hurt, and the way he recovered and then finished strong, I was very impressed with his powers of recovery, his mentality, his willingness to, you know, really dig deep when he had to, and get the finish in the way he did. Against a good fighter, Ortiz. Don't forget, Ortiz is an old man, and that is probably the main reason Wilder got to him, but exactly the same can be said for the Joshua Klitschko fight. That's the only reason Joshua really came on strong in the end, because he was the younger, fitter, naturally more athletic fighter, and Klitschko's 42 years old, been sat on the sofa for 18 months, and he came in and gave AJ one hell of a test. So it's an even fight, Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and one I want to see this year.
That's a fight we hope gets made, but a fight that's already been made and only a month or so away is Triple G, Canelo. We've seen it one time already. How do you see the rematch shaping up?
I think it's a close fight. I mean, a lot of people are saying Triple G won the first one. I've not watched the fight. I've seen highlights, but I think you've got to go with the general consensus that Triple G probably was unfortunate in not picking up the victory in that one. So the rematch, you would expect Golovkin to go in there and do the business, but he's getting older. He's raised a lot of concerns about the performance enhancing drugs that Canelo may or may not be on. I know he was under scrutiny with it, and
what do you make of that? He says it's tainted Mexican meats. How do you receive this scandal?
I don't know. It's difficult to accidentally and to fall victim of a contaminated substance when you're training. If that's what he's saying, then you've got to take that as his reasoning behind it. But does he look juiced up? Let the people who view decide for themselves. I'm not in a position to say whether or not I think he's taking performance enhancing drugs. But Golovkin is getting older and he's getting hit more often and he's slowing down. What is he, 36 years old, 35, 36? Canelo's a young man, and I always think youth and enthusiasm and the freshness of a fighter will always beat somebody who's on their way out. I retired when I was nearly 37 for a reason. I could feel the age catching up with me. So a lot of people are expecting Golovkin to do the business in the rematch. I'm not so sure. I think it's a 50-50 fight and it's a pick-em. The fight's going to be closer this time.
But it sounds like to me you're leaning towards Canelo this time.
I don't know. Golovkin's tough and he's a big puncher. And, he had Canelo. I didn't see that. I saw highlights of the fight. He had Canelo in a bit of trouble in the first one. But if I had to bet on the fight and I had to guess right, I'd probably go for Canelo, yeah.
Now, one fight that we've both guessed wrong was Groves Eubank. I picked Eubank. I believe you did as well. Eubank was bested by Groves. I realize you guys have your history. Talk to me about how you received that fight. I'm sure you watched that one, if not Triple G Canelo. And were you surprised by Groves' ability to perform?
I was impressed in the tactics Groves employed. He used his strength and size and basically nullified the work of Chris Eubank Jr. Every time Eubank got close to him, he just held on to him and leaned on him. And it's a tactic that if the referee allows you to do, you can do and get away with it. Andre Ward did it with me. He just does it with a lot of his opponents. He holds on to his opponents. He nullifies their offense with his style, his awkward, horrible holding, clinch and head style. And Groves, every time Eubank got near him, he just got hold of him and pushed him down. Don't get me wrong, there was throwing punches and there was hitting and missing, but it was an awkward, kind of messy fight to watch. It wasn't one for the archives. I wouldn't watch it again. It wasn't exciting. It's had its moments, but you've got to give Groves credit for doing what he had to do to win. But he was too big and too strong, and he manhandled Chris Eubank Jr., who I think should go back down to middleweight.
Does he have enough to win the tournament?
Yes, I mean, Callum Smith's a good fighter, and I think that's a very close fight, but I think Groves will probably win that one on experience. I think it's close, and it comes down to small margins. They're both fit, they're both strong. Groves is getting better longer down the distance. He used to fade a lot. I think he might be doing his weight better under Shane McGuigan. He's for getting fit, but I just feel that Callum Smith's not quite got the experience at that world level which Groves has got. He's been banged out a couple of times. He's lost to Badou Jack, and all them losses, they pick up big experience, and that wealth of experience he now takes into the ring. What he lacks now in explosive power and speed, which he had early on in his career, especially the first fight against me when he battered me for 6 rounds, and then he ran out of steam basically, and my mate Howard Foster jumped in there and set up a great rematch at Wembley. So that was the best I've seen of Groves. It was not just because he fought me, he was very, very good in that fight. That explosive power and speed, I think, slowed down, but he's now gained a wealth of experience and wisdom, and he takes that into his fights now, and you saw that with Chris Eubank Jr. He didn't get involved when he didn't need to get involved. He did what he had to do to win the fight, and against Callum Smith, I think that could be the difference.
And lastly, Carl, I know sometimes every fighter looks at the television and is like, hey, I could beat that guy. I know you still think you could beat George Groves any day of the year. Are you a little bit disappointed that you didn't enter the tournament? You may become the champion of this tournament. You think that if you had been in there, you could have won it?
Listen, mate, whoever wins the tournament I'll fight him. I don't even need notice. I'll take him out. The division's quite weak at the minute. Listen, George Groves is the #1 super middleweight in the world. And I told you all you need to know about the super middleweight division. I'm not being horrible. The division's not at its strongest. It's not been at its strongest since 3 or 4 fighters retired. But, you know, he's doing a good job. Boxing's all about timing. You know, you can only beat who's in front of you, and you can only face the challenges that are there. And the division's not really that hot at the minute. So, did you say, am I coming out of retirement, or would I, or was there a question in there?
Yeah, the question was, could you beat anyone in that tournament? And the answer was, you could beat whoever wins it on the next day.
You didn't even need to ask, did you? You already knew the answer.
Radio Raheem with Carl Froch taking on the winner of the 168 tournament on the next day. Doesn't even need any notice. Always a pleasure to talk to you, champ. Radio Raheem with Carl Froch.